Okay, it's starting to get dark this evening, so this will be the last essay I read this evening. Um, this is the essay on Mrs. Bush, and now Mrs. Bush is not any relationship, as far as I know, to the wives of the presidents. Mrs. Bush was the name of the mother of one of the kids that I went to school with at Nativity in Menlo Park, and she had, like Mrs. Armstrong, had a very profound impact on my life. And the essay kind of speaks for itself. At one point when I was creating this, I was afraid that the word Mrs. Bush would confuse people, and my brother said, "Oh, you knew Laura Bush?" I go, No, this is Mrs. Bush from Nativity. I never even made any connection. And so I had called the essay Mrs. B, and as I was working on it now, I just went, no, this is Mrs. Bush. That's what I knew her as, and that's what I want to write about. Okay. Mrs. Bush and the Safety Patrol, of all things. The crossing guards. The power of belief. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started, and know the place for the first time. This is from T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets. Life is a circle, so often a vicious circle of frustration and repeated mistakes, but sometimes I catch a glimpse of something beyond the mistakes, something at the core of my life experience that becomes a doorway to a different world, a doorway that is always there if I but pass through its boundaries. Lord, was it really 40 years ago, and now getting close to 50 years ago? Where did all the time go? Every day seems so full, so rich, so demanding, and yes, so exhausting. But 40 years, when I wrote this, now 50 years, have gone. I don't remember posing for the aging photograph. I don't remember anyone taking the picture, but there it is. The picture was probably taken in the spring of 1962, during my 8th grade year at Nativity School. There is the young lieutenant, the head of the safety patrol that day, standing rigid, captured in time and memory. Behind them stand the patrol members, young boys, now middle-aged men, in fact, men on the cusp of old age, no doubt with balding heads, graying hair, and protruding bellies, the companions of my youth, alive in my memories. Mrs. B stands at the rear. Mrs. Bush stands at the rear rear left of the patrol, the adult figure responsible for the patrol. Next to Mrs. B, to Mrs. Bush, stands a young boy just beginning to emerge from childhood. He wears the Nativity School uniform, but no badge, no safety patrol cap or belt, no sign or symbol of authority. I look into his eyes and I see a seriousness, an earnestness far beyond his youth. I look into his eyes and see myself yesterday, today, and I pray tomorrow. He looks out of place, almost like he wandered into the picture, a kind of safety patrol groupie. But he is the generator, as Dr. Cutter called him at the moment of his birth, the organizer, the implementer, the translator of Mrs. Bush's vision into reality. He is out of place, and yet at his best he is the glue that holds the picture together, the agent, the organizer, that transforms a hope, a vision, into a living, breathing reality. What can I say about Mrs. Bush? She was a beautiful woman, the mother of one of the students in Nativity School, a grade ahead of me. She was one of those extraordinary people in my life who saw something special in me and gave me the chance to live up to my potential. She believed in me even when I did not know who I was. A few years before the picture was taken, she made me a sergeant in the safety patrol, then a lieutenant responsible for the one-person patrol on Glenwood Avenue in Menlo Park. Later, she made me the captain of the safety patrol. In that role, I scheduled the patrols. I literally and figuratively held the key to the functioning of the patrol. Every morning, every afternoon, rain or shine, I opened the door of the patrol room. Every morning, every evening, I did whatever it took to ensure that the patrol was on duty, and then blended into the background, just another face in the crowd. What can I say about Mrs. Bush? She was not rich, she was not famous. She did not change the world, but she changed my life. Today, more than really 50 years later, whenever I think about my work as a project manager, the image in the safety patrol photo comes to my mind. Mrs. Bush remains an integral part of that image. What can I say about Mrs. Bush? A few years after the picture was taken, Mrs. Bush died. I don't understand why so many good people die so young. Mrs. Bush died too young, leaving a painful hole, but a beautiful memory and a promise of hope, a testament to a brief life well spent. Be at peace, Mrs. Bush. Thank you.